What's up, you guys, and welcome back to my channel. The first month of 2022 is almost over, and now it's time to look forward to February. For this next month, I chose a cute or pretty looking monthly header because every time I think of February, I just think of Valentine's Day. So I wrote February across the middle of the cover page in cursive and then added drop shadows using my black pen. I also can't not use a pink theme for February, so I decided to use a cherry blossom theme for this month. And to incorporate that theme into my cover page, I drew 2 large cherry blossoms, one above and one below the monthly header. Normally, I would outline any drawings with my black pen, but I chose not to do that this time because I like how bright the flowers look without outlining. Plus, it also helps keep everything looking cleaner. And to give the drawing some life, I just shaded in each petal near the center of the flower. Then on the other side of the cover, I added my chapter page by writing chapter 2 in the theme color and loading underneath that with my black pen. I used all of the same lettering styles as from my January chapter page so that they will all look the same throughout the year. And lastly, I drew the progress bar and shaded in 2 boxes because it's the second month of the year. For my calendar spread, I went with a very traditional calendar design and only drew the boxes for the days in February. Sometimes I'll include the rest of the boxes that overlap other months just to make things symmetrical, but I didn't feel like doing that this time for some reason. Plus, making it this way also gave me more room to incorporate the theme. Then, across the top of the 2 pages, I wrote out the monthly header. This was honestly super stressful because I wanted the space between each letter to be as equal as possible, and overall I think I did a good enough job, but I definitely got better as I kept filming, and overall I'm really happy with how everything turned out. Next, in the open space on the left, I made 2 extra sections, one for a monthly to-do list and another for monthly goals. I just used the same marker as my theme color to write the section titles in cursive, and then I used a different, slightly lighter pink marker to highlight every other row beneath the titles. I thought this other marker was going to be a little lighter than it actually was, but it at least still ended up looking nice. After that, I filled in the top section of the calendar with the theme color and wrote in the first 3 letters of each day of the week in all capital letters. You can write the days of the week in pretty much any lettering style you want here, so just use what you enjoy doing the most. But to finish the actual calendar portion, I wrote in the number of each day into the top left corner of all of the boxes. I originally was going to highlight the top section of each box as well, but because the other marker didn't end up being as light as I wanted, I chose not to do that. But you could still do it if you wanted to add more color to the spread. The last thing I did on this page was add in my cherry blossom theme into all of the remaining empty spaces. I just separated the 2 areas into equal parts and made all the cherry blossoms the same size, and also made sure that they were equally spaced apart. You definitely don't have to be that organized with it, but that's just how I like to make my spreads. I also probably could have fit another one in the bottom right section, but I didn't really think about that until I was already done. Next, for my first weekly spread, I included something that I've only done a couple of times before, and that is using a Dutch door. I don't normally use Dutch door spreads because I'm not really good at them and usually don't like the outcome, but I won't get better unless I keep trying. So I cut the top third portion of the middle page out and organized the daily sections horizontally with 2 days per page. And as you can see, I have the monthly header at the top of the spread so you can see it no matter which way the Dutch door is facing. These types of layouts give you so much space for each day, so if you tend to write a lot in your journal, then you might like the Dutch door spread. I don't plan a whole lot under each day, so I'll probably only take up about half of each daily section at most. But next, I wrote the daily headers in cursive towards the bottom of the page, making sure to leave some room underneath, and I also elongated both ends to reach the edges of the box so it looks like all of the headers are connected. Because these boxes are so large and I have a lot of empty space, I felt like just using a normal header would have looked too small, and I really like how it turned out with it reaching both edges. But I guess you could also just write the headers larger if you don't like them to be connected. Then with the extra space I left at the bottom of each section, I drew a single cherry blossom centered under the daily headers, and this is where I will write in the numbers for each day. Later on, after I finished the spread, I decided to add horizontal lines between each flower, and you can see how that turned out in my flip through at the end of this video. But because there's so much white space in the spread, you could also add random doodles around each of the daily sections. There's a lot you could do to add more color to the spread, and with this theme, pretty much anything looks good, but just remember that it won't look as plain once you start writing things in. Next, I drew my mini calendar at the top right section of the spread, and this is also in a place where you can see it no matter which way you're looking at the spread. Lately, I've been on the fence with including these mini calendars because I don't really look at them that much anymore, so I will probably stop using them at some point. But to finish the spread, I just added a main to-do list next to the mini calendar. I've really enjoyed using this in January, so I decided to include it this month as well. It has helped me not feel too pressured to finish things on certain days, which then decreases my stress. So if you struggle with that, then I highly suggest trying out a weekly to-do list. This next weekly spread is probably tied as my favorite with my fourth weekly spread. I just love both the symmetry and simplicity of this layout. It looks so full without having to do very much, and you all know I love to keep things simple. So I started by drawing horizontal boxes stacked vertically and centering them on the page. I also kept the outer edge of each box open because that is where I will draw cherry blossoms for the daily numbers. Then I wrote the monthly header across the entire left edge of the spread. Sometimes I'll do a similar layout to this one where I make the boxes a little shorter and then put the monthly header across the top of the spread, but I wanted to do something different this time. Not a lot of headers look good oriented sideways, so when they do, I like to utilize new designs. I kept the daily headers super simple and just wrote the first 3 letters of each day vertically and positioned them to the inside edge of each box. And then I drew the cherry blossom in the space I left on the outer edge of each box. Having the cherry blossoms where I put the numbers of each day was a very last-minute decision, but I am so happy that the idea came to my mind because otherwise I don't know how I would have incorporated the theme in any of these spreads. Plus, it kind of ties in all of the weekly spreads together with that aspect being the same across all of them. Then I added my mini calendar in the bottom right corner of the spread, centered with the box it was next to, and added a weekly to-do list in the remaining space above that by drawing the title in cursive using the theme color and then highlighting every other row with the lighter pink marker. My third weekly spread is one that I use almost every month, but it never fails to look cute or be functional, so I always like to use it. Though with the layout of the daily section so large, it doesn't leave any room for a main to-do list, which I've been liking lately. But I guess I could have swapped it out with the mini calendar since I don't really find that useful anymore. After outlining the 7 daily sections, I added my monthly header across the remaining empty space in the top left, and because the space is so small, I only wrote the first 3 letters of February. And since the theme wasn't going to be used too much with this spread, I also drew a large cherry blossom above the monthly header. To add a bit more color and incorporate the theme more, you could also add in random petals around all of the spreads, which I've seen other people do with this theme and it always looks so good. Though for my spreads, I like how not having the petals keeps the design minimal, so just do what you enjoy. Moving back to the daily sections, I highlighted one line across the top of each box, making sure to leave some empty space above it, and then also drew a cherry blossom centered at the bottom of each box. Looking at it now, I think this spread would have looked cuter if I had rounded the corners of all of the boxes. I don't know why I didn't think about that before, but you should all try it out and see how it looks. Next, in the highlighted area at the top of each box, I wrote in the days of the week in my regular handwriting, and then also added the number for each day within the cherry blossoms at the bottom. I also think all uppercase letters for the daily headers would look good here, so if you like that style better, then you can definitely do that instead. But after that, I filled in the mini calendar and then actually went back to the daily sections and added horizontal lines on either side of the cherry blossoms and connected them to the edges of the box so it kind of mimics the headers. I ended up loving this final weekly spread way more than I thought I would, and I seriously cannot wait to use it. But I started by positioning all of the vertical daily sections next to each other and centering them across the entire page. I did leave some space at the top of each section open to add in the daily headers, and as you can see, I also highlighted those open areas with the theme color. Then across the top of the spread, I wrote in the monthly header in the same way I did on the calendar spread. Every time I made this monthly header, the drop shadows always ended up being slightly different, and it kind of bugged me at first, but now I don't really notice it too much. Next, in the highlighted portion of the daily sections, I wrote in just the first 3 letters of each day in all capital letters. Another way to write in these headers that I think would look super cute is to write the 3 letters in cursive and connect both ends to the edges of the box to kind of incorporate it into the outline of the sections. And in that case, I probably wouldn't highlight the headers at all. Then I moved to the bottom of the spread where I added in 2 extra sections, one for a main to-do list and another for notes. I don't actually use a notes section too often, so I probably should have also made that portion part of the to-do list, but it's kind of too late now. Then after that, I moved back to the daily sections and added a cherry blossom centered under the daily headers to hold the numbers of each day and match all of the other spreads. I really enjoy using the same design for the daily numbers, so I think I might continue that throughout the year. I had some extra room in the bottom of both corners of the spread, so I decided to also add a cherry blossom in those areas to tie in the theme a bit more. You might have already noticed, but I didn't use a mini calendar in this spread, and I actually like how it turned out without one. But if you still want to add one in, then you could put it in one of the bottom corners instead of the cherry blossom. And to finish off this weekly spread, I wrote in the numbers for each day and then added horizontal lines on either side of the cherry blossoms, connecting them to the edges of the box in the same way as the previous spread. The first tracker I'm using this month is a habit tracker, and I started with making the header by writing habit across the top portion of the page in the same header style I used on all of the previous spreads, and then wrote tracker underneath that in all capital letters. I've been doing better at using my mood tracker lately, but not so much with my habit tracker, so my main goal for this month is to consistently fill out both trackers. And to help achieve that, I used a layout that is relatively easy and quick to fill out. So I started with making a simple flag where I will write in the habits and then added 2 horizontal rows of 14 boxes next to the flag. I also alternated the direction of each row to help separate the habits a bit more and make them easier for myself to read, but you could keep them all on one side if you wanted to. Because I only want to track 6 habits in February, I had some extra space at the bottom of the page, so I used it to incorporate the theme by drawing 1 large cherry blossom in the center and 2 smaller ones on either side. But if you like to track more habits than me, you could definitely use that extra space to add another 2 rows. Next, I used the theme color to shade in all of the flags, and to finish the spread, I wrote in all of the habits I want to track throughout February. One that I really want to keep up with throughout the entire year and not just February is reading more, because I've been using my phone way too much. So if you have any good book suggestions, please leave them in the comments so I can check them out. Lastly, for my mood tracker, I wrote mood across the entire top section of the page in my February header style, and then wrote tracker underneath that in smaller all uppercase letters. I didn't do much pre-planning or outlining for this tracker because I will be drawing each of the cherry blossoms as the days go by, so all I did was write in numbers for all 28 days of the month. I made sure to have each one evenly spaced out horizontally across the page, and I also decided to stagger each row. As you can see, I did pencil in where each flower will go, and that was just to help with the planning of the spread outline. And then finally, I just added in the colors for each mood I'm going to track throughout the month. But that is all for my 2022 February Plan With Me video. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and got some good ideas for your own journal. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in my next video.